Hello, everyone. I'm trying to make sure. Here we go. Okay. So, this is my first time multi streaming. Okay. So, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I am going to make sure that, oh, I see you, Instagram. Go ahead and give me a shout if you're joining on Instagram or if you're joining on Facebook or YouTube. I'm going to be checking the comments as best as I can. I'm really excited that you guys are joining us tonight because we are starting a brand new 8 week series. These are not going to be long lives at all. We are going to be on for about 10, 15 minutes tops. But I really wanted us to talk about unity. There's so much marriage advice out there, you guys. And I know you've read the blogs. I know you've listened to the podcast. I know that you've watched the YouTube videos of everybody saying everything, all the things. And one of the things that I really want to stress is that at its foundational level, marriage is teamwork. And if you don't get anything else out of these 8 weeks, I really want you to walk away knowing that you are a part of a team. You are not by yourself anymore. You're not a lone ranger. And that's great. It has many benefits to it, but it's also got some downsides to it because it rubs up against our selfish tendencies. And so the whole goal of this 8 weeks is to really equip you and to empower you in your marriages, to really act as a team, as a unit. So let me tell you a few things before we dive into what we're going to talk about tonight. First and foremost, I really want to encourage you all to ask questions. So if there's something that I say that you're like, I don't really understand that, or can you go deeper into that? Or maybe there's a relationship question that you have that's not necessarily even what I'm talking about. What we're going to do is every other week I'm going to host a live Q&A. So let's say you are married and you need to know, or you want to know how to actually build spiritual intimacy in your marriage, let's say, right? And we're not talking about that at all. Still ask that question because on weeks 2, 4, 6, and 8, I'm going to be answering your questions live. So please, let's be communicative in the chat. Go ahead and post those questions there. You're going to see me looking back and forth because I have a couple screens here. So hey, Dawn, Sean, Steffi, Dawn, again, I see you, Michelle, Keisha. So happy to see y'all on Instagram. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, I'm not ignoring you. I just haven't pulled up the comments yet. So let me go ahead and jump right into what we're going to talk about tonight. If you guys have not listened to my podcast, shameless plug, I host a podcast called Rebuilding Us Marriage Podcast. You can find that at danashay.com/podcast. On Tuesday's show, I release episodes every Tuesday and every Friday. On Tuesday's show, I talked about 5 intimacies that every marriage needs to have. And by far, the intimacy that most people talk about is emotional intimacy. My own husband, who is here on Instagram listening right now, sends me a text saying, I don't need emotional intimacy. And I'm like, yes, you do. We all need emotional intimacy, whether you feel like you need it or not. So I thought tonight, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about how to create emotional intimacy in your marriage. And I'm only going to give you one tip. Okay. So these lives, again, they're short. So I'm not going to give you like the whole long spill of all the things to do. I'm just giving you one tip. All right. If you can do one thing in your marriage that is going to help you to create emotional intimacy, I believe that it is that you need to be a safe space. You need to be a safe space. What does that mean? We hear that all the time, like be a safe person or that person's not safe. But what do we really mean by that? So I would like to hear from you in the comments when you say that or when you hear that, what comes to your mind when someone says this person is a safe person or this person is not a safe person? Go ahead and put that in the comments and I'll kind of be reading through as I go along here. When I'm talking about being a safe person, I'm not just talking about like physically safe, right? Like we all know that you shouldn't be in a relationship with someone if you don't feel physically safe. If you're being harmed in any way, you need to get out of that relationship. So, what I'm not talking about is physical safety. What I'm really talking about is emotional safety, which means that you feel safe enough to be vulnerable. I know vulnerability, like it's such a word, right? Like, what does that even mean? In order to be vulnerable, though, you have to make an agreement that you are willing to be seen, that you're willing to truly be yourself, your real self, no mask, no pretense, none of that. You're just willing to be you. And when you are willing to be vulnerable in a relationship, you require safety. None of us are going to be vulnerable. None of us are going to be fully open to our spouses, partners, whomever, if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel like I can trust you with seeing who I really am in here. So I believe that the best way and the quickest way, I was going to title this the fast track to emotional intimacy, but the quickest way to get there is to become a safe person. So I'm going to give you 3 tips, okay, about the one tip. 3 tips on the one tip. All right. How do you become a safe person? The first thing is you need to listen well. Dawn said on Instagram, safe people do not attack her tender spots. Sean said, someone that you talk with that does not gossip about you, shame you, or use it against you. Absolutely true. I really need to pull up Facebook and YouTube. I'm not ignoring you guys, I promise. Actually, I am, but I'm going to stop ignoring you. Okay. So that's excellent, you guys. That's exactly right. Right. We want to be people who, when we put our stuff out there, we know that it stays there. You're not going to take it and run with it. You're not going to go tell your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mama, your daddy, nobody. It's going to stay. Also, that when you do reveal those tender spots, like Dawn said, that you are not worried that they're going to use that against you later, that they're going to come back and attack you later. So, absolutely. One of the things that I want to tell you is, when you become a safe person, we have to learn in order to be considered a safe person, you got to listen well. And that's again, Sean, like you've got to listen. He said that when he talks, the person doesn't gossip or shame or use it against you. Becoming a good listener is a skill. Like there's literally college classes on listening. It is a skill. And all of us, unless you have a hearing impairment, you can hear. You can hear me speaking right now, but we don't all listen. Some of you right now might be talking to somebody else while I'm talking. You might be washing dishes while I'm talking. You might be watching TV while I'm talking. We are so used to multitasking that we have forgotten the art of listening. We have really forgotten how it is and what it looks like to just sit with somebody and just listen, to just allow them to talk and us not feel like we've got to come in and interject and say something and be distracted. So I would encourage all of us. This is something that I'm working on myself. We all need to learn how to be better listeners. The easiest way to do that is to remove all the distractions that you can. So one of the things when Sean and I talk, we really, I'm just gonna put him out there, Sean. I love you. But like when he's on his phone and I'm talking, I just will stop talking because I'm not gonna compete with the phone. And he might say the same thing about me. He was trying to tell me this story the other day, and I was like I had just finished working out. I was like trying to hop in the shower, trying to get dressed, trying to do all the things. And so he was just like, I'll tell you later. I wasn't listening well. So guess what? If we want to be safe people, we got to learn how to be better listeners. The first thing that you can do to be a better listener is just remove the distractions. Get off your phone, tell your kids, not right now. Like, come on, now that's a whole nother live. Like, your kids do not just have full access to you all the time, even when you're talking to your spouse. There needs to be a boundary. Okay. So do whatever you need to do to remove those distractions so that you can become a better listener. That's the first tip. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is to be genuinely interested in that person, in that person. You might not care about what they're saying. You might not know anything about what they're saying because sometimes we get in conversations and we're like, I don't know what this person's talking about. And so we tune out. But can you, especially to your spouse, can you be like, well, I'm interested in you? So I'm going to listen to you. I might not care anything about your story. I might not care anything about these people that you work with. I might not care anything about what the little kid did and made. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is you. So I'm going to be genuinely interested. And when you're genuinely interested in someone or something, what do? We ask questions, right? We say, really? Wow, for real? Like, tell me more. What happened next? She said what? Like, we're genuinely interested. And so we're genuinely asking questions. So that's the second thing. It's just to genuinely be interested in your person, whoever that is, when they're talking to you. And then the third thing, and y'all, this is hard for me. Okay. Like, don't give advice unless you are asked for advice. Okay, when I talk to people, I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like like I've got an app for that. Like I've got an answer for that. I've got an answer for that. I've got an answer for that. And we have to be careful because sometimes people do not need our advice. Sometimes they're not looking for our advice. Sometimes people just want to talk and get it out. Sometimes they just want to be able to say something and know that there's somebody in the world who cares about what they're saying. And so if that's you, if you are an advice giver, an unsolicited advice giver, I'm I'm showing you your blind spot right now, okay? And it's my blind spot too, so no shade. But what we have to do is we have to ask that person what they need. I did an episode probably 4 or 5 months ago called "Do You Need to Be Heard? Do you need a hug? Or do you need oh my gosh, I just forgot. Do you need to be held? Do you need a hug or do you need to be heard?" Right? We have to ask people what they need from us when they're talking. Sometimes people just need to be heard. Sometimes people need a hug. And then sometimes people do need help. There's the other H. They need help. They need advice sometimes, not all the time. So when you are a safe person, you're going to be someone who listens well. You are going to be someone who asks good questions because you're genuinely interested in the person, not necessarily in what they're saying. And then you're going to be someone who holds your advice unless you're asked for it. So, this is a challenge for me. It is something that I'm trying to grow and learn and be better and be more safe to my husband, to my kids, to my friends, to everybody. And I think that when we do that, when you become a safe person, that other person feels like they can open up. There's no pretense anymore because why? They don't need to. They don't need to hide. They don't need to pretend. So, that is my charge to you and to myself is to work this week on being a safe person. So what I would like for you to do right now, like I said, I'm going to come back and watch these comments, y'all. I would love to say that I'm an excellent multitasker, but I am not. So I'm going to come back in and look at your comments in Facebook and YouTube, Instagram. I've got my eye on you. But what I would like for you to do is I really want you to grow in intimacy in your relationships, especially if you're married, because a lot of marriages, y'all, people get married and then the romance goes and the intimacy goes. And by intimacy, I'm not talking about physical intimacy only, I'm talking about all the other five, right? So I want to be able to help you to grow closer as a couple. I've created a free checklist for you, and there's no strings attached. You do need to give me your email address so I can send it to you, but I want you to get your hands on this. It's called the Ultimate Couples Checklist. Maybe you already have it. Go through it and check off the things that you're working on. Okay. There's only 5 steps there. I don't want to overwhelm you with a whole lot of stuff, but I want to make sure that you get your hands on it. So you can find that at danashay.com. That's my name, DANACHE.com /ultimate couple. Okay. danashay.com /ultimate couple. And you are going to see very practical steps. I'm a very practical person. I want to be able to give you like quick tips, just like this live, like quick tips. You're in and out, and you can put this stuff into action because it's not just about hearing it, right? It's about doing it. The Bible says that, right? Just don't be hearers of the word, but be doers. So thank you guys so much for joining. This was a lot of fun. Hey, I said 15 minutes and we are 13 minutes in. So I hope you guys come back next Thursday. It's going to be our Q&A. So make sure if you have any relationship or marriage questions, you put those in the comments. There's still time for you to do that. Or you can just send me a DM wherever you're watching this on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. You can just send me a private message. Let me know that you have a question. Let me know if you want your name to be used or not. I don't have to use your name if you don't want to, but I do want to take next week and make sure that I answer those questions that you have. Maybe it's about something we talked about tonight, or like I said, maybe it's about something totally different. So again, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I'll see y'all soon. And make sure that you get the Ultimate Couples Checklist, danashay.com /ultimate couple. Bye.